tonight's class is on gut health, and we are going to be talking about how to get a healthy gut, basically what it takes to do that. And we know that when it breaks down, quality of life goes down the tubes. So I do have I put my blog up later today. And so there are some info sheets and some class handouts on my blog. You can pick them up anytime. I don't know that I'm going to go over them so much, but they do deal with bad breath, ulcers, colitis, and what was that other one? Candida. So I've got some of the, I pulled pieces for the blog for you all to download and look at those. Okay. All right. Well, before we can actually, we need to understand what the gut is. And in my opinion, the gut is our ability to intake, absorb, and digest, and then eliminate the waste. And that's what gut health is all about, the ability to get it in, get it absorbed, and then get out what we shouldn't be hanging on to. And so that is the angle that I'm going to be going towards today. And gut health also has everything to do with being able to get rid of excess body weight and being able to gain weight. Okay, if there's going to be any background noise, you guys need to mute yourself. And if you got questions, always unmute and ask them, but I heard banging in the background. Okay, so this is what I came across this years ago. And when I read this book, How Not to Diet, and no, it is not what I use to lose weight. It's what I've been using to stabilize myself. And he had some really good information in here. I would strongly suggest, and this is a big book. It's on audio, and I listened to the audio, and my husband actually listened to it with me, and he followed along with the book because he likes the hard copies. So I got the book for him, and I'm glad I have it because he did underlining and things like that in the book while we were listening to the audio. This is an amazing book. It's not so much all about losing weight. It's about how to feed yourself. I mean, this guy, he really just explains so much. It is good. And when we get through this section on fiber, you're going to definitely get your appetites whetted for this book. Okay. High fiber, rich in foods. This is going to be about feeding our forgotten organ. All right. So what is our forgotten organ? We will find that out in a moment. Like I said, I'm going to be reading some of this, and since I cannot see, no laughing. All right. We used to think of food simply as a source of nutrients and energy, but we now know there are components in what we eat that can act as signaling molecules that bind to specific receptors within the body and trigger drug-like effects to regulate our metabolism, among other things. Ironically, one of the food components that produces the most dramatic effect is something that initially appears to be the most inert of dietary constituents. In other words, the most unused, ineffectual, nothing. Fiber. In fact, telling people to increase their intake of fiber-rich foods may actually be one of the single most effective pieces of advice for weight loss. Now, remember, this is a weight loss book, but we're talking about overall health. And so I would say for overall health. Fiber seems so boring. Definitely fiber is indigestible since it can't be absorbed into the body. It just stays in our gut and bulks up our stool. That is this is not to belittle the importance of bowel regularity. If just half the adult population ate 3 additional grams of fiber a day, only a quarter cup of beans, or a bowl of oatmeal, we could relieve enough constipation to save billions of medical costs a year. But it's not as if we thought fiber really did anything beyond helping to keep us regulated. While it's true we can't technically digest fiber, that's only applicable to the part of us that's actually human. This is where it gets interesting. But most of the cells in our bodies are bacteria. Our gut flora, which weighs more than one of our kidneys and are more metabolically active than our livers, have been called our forgotten organ. And our good gut bacteria don't just digest fiber, they thrive on it. Fiber is like comfort food to your colon. So we can digest fiber, just not without a little help from our little friends. What do the bacteria do with the fiber? They make short chain fatty acids. With the fiber that can be absorbed from the colon into our bloodstream, circulate throughout our bodies, and even end up in our brains. In this way, these fiber sourced fat, he has SCFA, which stands for short chain fatty acids, can potentially have wide-ranging effects on everything from immune function and inflammation to mental health. And as you'll see, many play a key role in regulating our appetites, metabolism, and body fat. Okay, now I'm going to skip around here a little bit. Anybody have any questions on that? Okay. Okay, crowding out calories. Remember, this was a diet book. So crowding out calories, and I'm going to skip down. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm going to skip down here. To illustrate, let's compare a food to its fiber-depleted equivalent. Consider a bottle of cold-pressed apple juice, which is basically an apple with its fiber removed. You could chug a regular 5.2 ounce bottle of juice in a matter of seconds, but to get the same number of calories, you would have to eat nearly 5 cups of apple slices. Which do you think would fill you up more? Obviously, apple slices, but why? First, you'll need to chew every apple slice. Fiber-rich foods require more chewing, slowing down eating rate, which itself improves can improve satiation, or you're feeling full. Okay, and this will I'll just go ahead and read it. In one study, researchers spread a barium paste. Now, researchers can be idiots. Onto slices of different kinds of bread, and found that upon X-ray, the stomach shadow was larger after eating whole wheat compared to white bread, showing how much fuller you physically get. So in our cold-pressed apple juice versus apple slice scenario, we have the extra fluid secretion on top of 5 cups of slices pushing on the walls of the stomach, which has nerves with stretch receptors that can send fullness signals directly to your brain. So that is one reason for the fiber. But we also know that when you are rebuilding your body, the juices, I mean, I'm not talking against juicing here. This is just a weight control type thing. But if you are wanting to feel full, and juices are definitely not going to cut it. But this is where it gets really interesting. And I may go ahead and paraphrase the rest of this. let's see. Basically, what he's saying in the rest of this is that, and it's what we already know, the fiber is going to fill you up, make you feel fuller, and you will eat less calories because your tummy will be fuller when you do more fiber. But here's the good part. Okay, it's not the calories you eat, but the calories you absorb. Okay, this is where the nutrition gets in. Now imagine what happens. The apple juice would get rapidly absorbed as soon as it spills from the stomach into the small intestine and spike our blood sugars, whereas sugar trapped in the mass of apple slices would be absorbed more slowly along the length of the intestine. Our bodies can only absorb nutrients when they come in physical contact with the intestinal wall. So fiber, which never gets absorbed, can act as a carrier to dilute and even eliminate calories out of the other end. Fiber doesn't just trap sugars, it can act as a fat and starch blocker too. And he goes on to say that there are drugs that they've got that will do that, but those aren't really all that healthy. So what he is saying here is, he goes on to make an illustration here that if you were to dip the apple slice in peanut butter and eat the peanut butter and the apple together, the fiber would absorb, and you would actually not get all the calories from the peanut butter. It would absorb and keep them and hold them. The fiber, if it does not touch the walls of the intestine, does not get absorbed. So for the weight loss issues and things along that line, and the gut health issue is we want, well, that's going to come up in a little bit. Okay, I don't want to jump ahead of here. All right. Then there's a section here where he talks about putting the brakes on, and I'm going to skip through because I'm definitely not going to be able to read this whole thing. Putting the brakes on, and this is where the very end of the ileum, which is that the way they say it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's the very last part of the small intestine where it matches up with the large intestine.
Mm-hmm.
If the food that reaches it still, if the waste that reaches there still has, he says, still has calories and fat and nutrients in it, it sends a hormonal signal back to your brain saying, shut down appetite. There's calories coming through here. And so when you use the fiber and the fiber absorbs it and it hits the ileum, it's going to shut down your cravings for food. You're not going to be hungry. So on the side of sick people, I mean, now I'm going to take it and put that on someone who is not absorbing their food well. It's getting through to there and they have no appetite. This is something we can also understand on the other side of things. When somebody is ill and they're not digesting their food, then you really do want to give them juices that get absorbed right away, so that, and that's one reason to take them off food, because it's just going to kill their appetite. When all those nutrients are not being absorbed and they hit the ileum, and it just sends a signal up to the brain saying there's plenty coming through, shut down the appetite, that's not a good thing. So juices that are going to be absorbed immediately and get into the body and without cutting the appetite. So this works both ways. I mean, when you're overweight and you really want to cut, the wanting to eat extra, it's a good thing. But when you're trying to rebuild someone who is underweight and sickly, you probably want to stick with juices and not allowing so much food to get through that isn't being digested and can send that signal up to the brain to stop. Applying wisdom both ways. God gave us good brains to think with. He doesn't bring that out in the book. I'm bringing that out here. All right. Back to these things. Yes, my eyes should be better, but they're not. Okay. So, so that is the breaking part. He says putting on the brakes. So when you are eating the fiber and you're wanting to lose weight and you get the fats through and they're all being absorbed into the fiber and it's noticed there at the end when it hits the ileum, then your body is going to signal up there and say, don't need to eat no more. You're fine. Okay. Also,
hey, Dara, somebody has a question.
Yes. Oh, thank you. I don't see any hands up. Go for it. If someone has a question, just go ahead and talk.
Baby Kitty Horton had a question.
Kitty, did you have a question? Oh, it's okay, she said. She just sent me a note saying it's okay. She must be okay. Yeah, just usually I'll see the hand come up, but I didn't see one. Thank you for telling me. Okay, he talks here that when you have the high fiber going in, the dietary fiber and all that, that you will actually be burning more calories just digesting your food with the extra fiber coming through. That they did tests on people, and he's always, through this whole book, he talked about, okay, let's take it to the test, and he's funny. It was really good, but he talks about you can even be burning calories in your sleep more than other people when you've got more fiber in there, because the fiber causes the peristaltic to have a bigger workout. If you eat, let's say you eat white bread and I don't know, cheese or something along that line, that just shrinks down to nothing and it just slides on through or does whatever, it just dissolves into nothing, and your intestines don't have any of that peristaltic, that weaving motion that needs to be done. You actually put your system into a really good workout when you have the fiber that builds it up, and your system actually has to work. So you can actually be burning more calories just by using fiber in your system. Okay. And he talks here about how, now this was the really good part on the healing side. Okay, short chain fatty acids. They may explain why fiber is also anti-inflammatory. For example, how can a single high fiber meal improve lung function in asthmatics within a matter of hours? The fiber we eat is turned to short chain fatty acids by our good gut bacteria, which then are absorbed into the bloodstream, where they are thought to dock with these free fatty acid receptors found on inflammatory immune cells in our airways, turning them off. Okay, hormones, and this was very interesting. Hormones are defined as signaling messengers that are produced in one organ, circulate through the bloodstream, and have a regulatory effect on another organ. So the short chain fatty acids could be considered hormones. It's just that the organ producing them are microbes, microbiomes, the bacteria that populate our gut. They can't make these hormones without fiber, though, just like our bodies need iodine to make thyroid hormones, and our thyroid function suffers when we eat iodine deficient diets. Our bodies need fiber to make short chain fatty acids and can suffer the consequences if we eat fiber deficient diets. So without the way that you make the short chain fatty acids is by eating fiber. And we're going to skip this. He talks here about fiber supplements. He did not have anything good to say about all those chemicals that they now have for fibers. Stick with your psyllium husk fiber, you know, what's natural. Don't get into chemistry stuff. And there was one other part in here that I found super interesting. It was here under his food for thought. What are the best sources of fiber? American Medical Association published a patient summary about fiber-rich foods, listing an array of whole, unrefined plant foods. These, those of us who may be a little smug about our hearty intake of fruits and vegetables need to realize that fruits and leafy vegetables are the poorest whole food sources of fiber. Why? Because they're 90% water. You try so hard and you get it wrong again.
Yeah.
Root vegetables have about twice as much on a per weight basis. And I don't like to eat too many root vegetables because they're so high in carbs.
Yeah.
Hey,
But
what was
the
that?
fiber-
You said, what's high in
Pardon?
carbs?
Root vegetables.
Oh, root vegetables. Anything that grows underground is high in carbs.
Okay.
The one that I will eat is sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes do good for me, but I don't go crazy with them. I just have to be really careful. But okay,
Hi.
root. Pardon? Oh, okay. Root vegetables have about twice as much as on a per weight basis, but the fiber superstars are whole grains, legumes, which include dried or canned beans, split peas, chickpeas, and lentils. And this is where my chickpea patties come in. If any of you have seen those recipes, that is seriously high fiber and high protein. But that will just give you an idea. What I do to make up my fiber, and I've been doing it for years, is I do psyllium husk. I do a teaspoon of psyllium husk powder in a glass of water once a day. The real problem with that, you can actually cook with psyllium husk powder, and it actually makes fluffy or pancakes and things. You just use like a teaspoon. You go very lightly with it. And you can actually add it. It adds no flavor. It will actually take flavor from your seasonings away, but you can add it to loaves and pancakes, patties, things like that. I make something that's called an omelette, and it's with silk and tofu. And instead of using cornstarch in there, which it calls for in the recipe, I use psyllium husk powder. And it fluffs it up better than cornstarch does. But you don't use as much. Pardon?
Where do you find that psyllium husk?
Any health food store will normally have psyllium husk powder. My favorite place to get it is bulkfoods.com. I do a lot of shopping at bulkfoods.com. And if you spend $75 with them, your shipping is $5, regardless whether you spend $75 or $2,500, which we do on occasion, because we get our yeast flakes from them, which go in our superfood, and we also buy large amounts of wheatgrass powder and barley grass powder and all that for the superfood mixes. So we get quite a bit, but I get all my nuts from them. And, you know, a big bag, a 5-pound bag of cashews is like $32. You try to get cashews for that price in the store. You can get some pretty good deals at bulkfoods.com. It's out of Ohio. And usually, if I place an order on Monday, I get it on Wednesday. They ship really well. And I've been using them for over 20 years. Question?
Now, this is Catherine.
Yes.
I came in late. I was in the bathroom after shower fixing my hair. So anyway, my question is, do they offer organic products?
Yes, they have different levels, and she gets the very best. I Years ago, before they got as big as they are now, I could actually call and I talked to the owner, and she's a great lady. She may not even own it anymore. It may have gone to some corporation. Who the heck knows? But they do have degrees, and they have information on the different products that will tell you where they come from and what they are and all that. They're really good about stuff like that.
And also, Etsy is a fair place to go. We find a variety of different things, and it requires a little shopping. Also, I've discovered as an egg replacement is chia seeds. Mix like a teaspoon of chia seeds with so much water, and use that for an egg substitute. I've yet to try it, so I'm excited.
Yeah, it's just a little chewy. Chia seeds for me are just a little bit. They get stuck in my teeth, and I tend to shy away from them. Psyllium or flax seeds, whole flax seeds, boiled for like 5 minutes, and then strain them real quick, and then it'll just come up into a gel, and that works really good as an egg replacement.
Okay, all right, great, thanks.
But we were talking about fiber here. Anyone have any questions on fiber? I went through that. I've read the whole thing several times, and I didn't want to go through everything he says on it, but did it make sense to you all, the value of fiber?
All I have to say is boo hiss about the vegetables and no fiber.
Yeah, that kind of sucks, but we have to learn. I would want to know the truth more than anything else. Okay.
Oh, hi, Dara. I just like to ask a question. For someone who has a gassy stomach, like a gassy stomach down there, where their stomach gets really huge, I know they might have underlying issue like diabetes, but would you say that they need to eat more fiber?
Okay, I'm not quite understanding your question. I didn't get the question.
Okay, like for instance, a person might have a really large stomach, but it's like gassy, maybe one of their reason, and bloating. But when you tell them to take more fiber, aren't they not going to be more bloating? Or they might have underlying issue like diabetes, but
well, the reason for the gassiness and the bloating and all that is that they're not digesting their food. It's rotting in their stomach. Mm-hmm. And it's not being digested. And so since it's rotting in the stomach, it is causing gas and bloating and all that. There are several reasons for that. One, they eat too often. If you are eating every 2 or 3 hours, I mean, some people, they want to eat every hour. And the way God made us to function, okay, people, you need to understand this. When you chew and swallow food, you initiate that peristalsis. The meal that you're eating goes to your stomach and your small intestines. The meal that was resting in your small intestines is now going to be moved to your colon. And the meal that was resting in your colon should be excreted within about an hour of eating a meal. All right, when let's say that you eat and then you come back 2 hours later and you eat again, everything in your gut then has to stop and wait for what you just ate to catch up to it. So it's sitting there rotting, not digesting, while what you just ate again is catching up to it. So a lot of your gut, you need to 5 hours between meals is a good idea. I mean, if you need to eat more often, if juicing will not do that to you. If you have problems where you need, like you're on a juice fast or something, you can drink juices all day long. They're not doing that chug-a-lug thing going down your gut. But your meals, when you're on a regular food program and you are eating meals, you need to give your body time to get it digested before you eat your next meal. I mean, even chewing gum in between meals can mess up your digestion and cause everything just to sit there and wait for food that isn't even coming. Chewing gum is one of the worst things you can do for gut health, honestly.
I totally agree. And also there is food combining, because there are foods that are more easily digested when they're combined with other foods. And so that's something I introduced myself to, I guess about 4 decades ago or more. And so that's something to consider as well. And there's lots of charts out there that are available free online.
Yeah, food combining is very important. But one thing to remember is some people can combine things that other people can't. So that's a very personal thing that you work out for yourself. There are some good, hard, fast rules that you need to follow. And so learning how to feed yourself would be a good idea, and looking at the food combining, see what works for you. But just remember that eating often, I mean, and I know there's so many out there that say, oh, eat every half hour. If you have blood sugar issues, eat every hour. Honestly, that just really is not healthy. That is just going to trash your gut. Juicing, drinking your juices, you can do that. But actually chewing and swallowing food that often it's just going to turn you gassy, bloated, and mess up everything in your stomach. Does that make any sense, Naomi? Or did I mess up your question?
Yeah, it makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. What you might want to do to help her is natural tagament, a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, a tablespoon of honey, and in a glass of water, a distilled water, about 15 minutes before she eats. And this will strengthen her hydrochloric bath. And then she needs to eat slowly. Do not bolt your food when you eat. You sit down to your meal, you chew well, you enjoy your food, you have your meal. You do not bolt down. If you cannot eat properly, it's better just not to eat until you can.
Okay.
I mean, eat your food, eat properly. Don't bolt your food. Do not drink with your meals, especially if you're having those kind of issues. You can drink, I think it's 20 minutes after a meal and 15 minutes before a meal.
Okay.
Did you say
apple cider vinegar and apple cider vinegar and what, please?
Honey.
Honey. Okay.
Raw honey. Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
And that's natural healing tagament. It's a phrase from the 70s, 80s. Basically, it strengthens the hydrochloric. It actually strengthens it, but if you overproduce, it will regulate it. It's a hydrochloric regulator. So
okay.
It works. Yes.
Glasses with the apple cider vinegar is tasty as well.
What is?
Molasses if you're not diabetic.
Oh. Yeah, I've never heard of using molasses with it, but I can't see why it would hurt anything. It should still work just as well as honey.
I saw it in one of your handouts.
Okay. Yeah, he did. Dr. Christopher did say that as the morning routine. He has molasses in there with the blackstrap molasses. And the reason for that is it's very high in iron. It's a really good source of, and I say that word so badly, iron. The blackstrap molasses. Okay, any other questions on fiber before we move on to, I guess, you all more interested in Candida or ulcers that we should talk about?
Ulcer.
Pardon?
I said Candida.
Candida. Okay, well, as you know, Candida is basically caused from an overgrowth in the gut and of the bad flora. And it quite often happens when you are using the antibiotics from westernized medicine. Will upset the stomach flora and cause an overgrowth in that, which it's another way of saying it is a yeast infection. And it can really mess up there are two things. One of my practitioners, she and I put together this Candida support formula, and she specializes in Candida. I mean, she's my go-to girl for Candida issues, and we all tend to specialize in what was our worst stuff. And she just really has an understanding of Candida, and we put together this this formula for Candida, and it's got the garlic, oregano, paw d'arco, cat's claw, olive leaf, and ginger root. And it's a dietary supplement. Take 2 capsules 3 times a day, daily with 15 drops of black walnut extract. Treating Candida takes a comprehensive approach. You will find that making dietary changes and supplementing with probiotics will greatly improve your overall health and can be used on a regular basis. Antifungals will only be necessary until your Candida is under control, which depends on the severity of your symptoms and the duration of the problem. Track how you feel as yeast disappears, so do your symptoms. And when you are doing a strong program to kill off the Candida, the die-off from Candida is horribly toxic. So you will definitely want to be doing 1 ounce a day of echinacea and liver flushing on a regular basis when you are clearing Candida from your system. Yes, my dear. Stamps?
Yes. Hi, Dara. Me and you have talked about this for hours at one time, but I have a question. Is there any way, if you're using the same probiotic daily, that it may stop working and you may have to switch to another brand? Because I've been using the same one for the last 3 years daily, and I don't know if it's being effective.
Okay. When it might not hurt to switch to another one, another really good one. That wouldn't be a bad thing. But when something becomes ineffectual like that, you might actually, that might be indicating that it's time to do a liver flush in ELF.
Yeah, because I if I eat it, like I usually take my probiotic first thing in the morning, and I noticed that I start getting nauseous maybe 20 minutes after I take it.
Yeah, it's probably time for you to do an ELF, a couple of them.
Okay.
And your liver, that nausea could be coming because it's throwing waste off and it's just backing up into your stomach instead of moving on out. The liver is not processing well. And you just need to empty that internal vacuum cleaner bag.
Okay.
Now,
thank you.
Just remember that's the rule of thumb. When what was working stops working, it's time to do an ELF. It's time to flush that liver through. So if it was working really well, if probiotics have really been a help for you, and then they just quit doing what they're supposed to do, I'd look at the liver and say, all right, let's just change this liver out.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. One of the best programs that I use for Candida, and I was introduced to this program, and this is a blog page that I have up there. Back in the beginning, from my mentor, 25 or better years ago, God, it's been a long time. I used the Clary Labs therabiotic. That's the probiotic I used, and then I did one teaspoon of powder 3 times a day. and then I did an ounce of echinacea for 4 to 6 days each week. And then the big thing was the olive leaf capsules. This was what really made the difference for me, was the olive leaf capsules. And the only one who really made the good one was East Park Research. They make, they have a process where they really extract it into a powder, and those are powerful capsules. You cannot start doing 2 capsules 3 times a day or 3 capsules twice a day. I usually ended up 3 capsules twice a day. You start with that, you will crash really bad. I mean, because you are just creating so much die-off that you just can't take it. You have to build your body up to be able to do that. So when you start using, if you do, it's called Delenolate, DELENOLATE, and go to East Park Research. I believe they sell on Amazon also. And you would take 1 capsule the first day, and then maybe on the second day, take a capsule in the morning and a capsule at night, and just see how you do with that. You may have to go a couple days at these lower levels as you work up to the bigger level of this. But this was just powerful, and it really, I used to have yeast so bad, it would be on the back of my legs, behind my knees, and it would just burn. And I have absolutely no yeast issues anymore at all. And I think it had to do with the weight loss strict program I've done on that. And this was huge, though. I quit having symptoms of yeast as long as I stayed with my olive leaf. The problem was it's not cheap. Nothing that's good is cheap. That is just so rough. That is not an inexpensive fix. We do an olive leaf extract here, but I'll tell you straight up, it's not as strong as theirs. But it will be something, and it's definitely more affordable than their stuff. And it is an extract that you can use, and it does have value, but it's not as strong as theirs. Any questions on that, on Candida?
May I ask a question that's off the topic briefly?
Sure.
Okay. So is the LF formula the one that does parasites?
The LP.
Can one use the LP? Thank you. I didn't have my glasses
Okay.
on when I looked at the bottle. Can that be used alone as part of an anti-parasitic program?
Yeah, it's got anti-parasitical properties in it, and it can be, you can use it on a regular basis just as an anti-parasitical work. I like to hold the Clark program if we know there are parasite issues. I will go with her program, which is on, the protocol is on my blog for hers, and we support that. But just for daily or whatever parasite work, the LP formula is great. And the LP is shortened from liver, gallbladder, anti-parasite.
Okay.
You just have a big slash in there, and the name was so long, I just shortened it down.
One more question. Now, this is just a refresher question. And that is, in using the echinacea tonic. So, and when I want to really address an issue, so I would take an ounce a day for 4 days. Is that once a day or twice a day with the echinacea tonic?
It's just once a day. You would pick your time of day, and you would take it once a day. The only time that I've ever suggested twice a day on the echinacea is for real serious infections. And you'll see the new virus protocol that I put on my blog. a couple weeks back now. It has a real intense COVID, but I don't use the word COVID on my blog. It's virus work. And it's like 4 or 5 back now. But if you put in virus, I believe it will come up. And we can thank Andrea for that. She took my infection protocol and kicked it through the moon, and has saved a few people's lives already with it. And so I give her credit for that. But the upswing of that one is you take an ounce of echinacea every 12 hours, so morning and night, and then you do both the infection formula and the herbal antibiotic every hour, 10 minutes apart. I mean, this is when you are trying not to slip off that banana peel that's already hanging over the grapes. And there were several other things on that protocol, but it's a really, really strong program. And that's the only time that I would say to do more, unless you are doing an incurables program and your immune system isn't taking, then of course you build up your echinacea. I mean, when you're clearing a disease or an issue from your body, you can get up to 2 or 3 ounces a day when, you know, as needed. But just for a protocol, just to jump in at something, that's the only time I've ever recommended just starting out that big.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
All right, hun. Okay. I guess we might as well. Does everyone have a Candida? I mean, I know a lot of people have issues with Candida. I feel like I breezed over that a bit. But it is what it is. Okay.
Did you talk
Ulcers.
about bad breath yet?
Nope. That one was laying right in front of me. I was debating going between it or ulcers. Okay. We can go with the bad breath. Halitosis. According to Dr. Christopher, the biggest cause of bad breath is constipation. When your bowels are backed up and you've got waste backing up, and that sewer line is just going to be coming out your mouth. So getting your bowels cleared out, getting your liver flushed, all of that is going to take care of the underlying cause that's bringing on the bad breath. In the meantime, there are some things that you can do to try to keep you from scaring everybody off. One of the really good things is you want to sweeten the tummy. I mean, that's where you want it to go. So the Digestive Tonic, which has the peppermint oil and the ginger and all that in it, sipping on that is going to sweeten your tummy all the way down. The LP and Digestive Tonic will do quite a bit for clearing halitosis. You know, if you find yourself killing everybody off, or somebody tells, hey, you know, it's really bad, go ahead and do a teaspoon of LP and Digestive and see if that won't just sweeten your tummy up. I remember a story from way back where that I read, Christopher, a gentleman who had, Christopher was giving, it may not be on this one, he was getting ready to give a talk at a YMCA, and he had been invited to this YMCA, and he was going to give a talk there, but when he went into the room, it just stunk so bad of cigarettes and body odor, and you know, it was just awful. And one of his students that was with him told him, he said, you just go on, when you come back, it'll be fresh, don't worry about it, I will fix this for you. And Christopher was thinking, I don't know, you can do that, and I really don't want to, you know, give a talk in a room that's going to be suffocating everybody with all this smell. And the kid told him, he said, don't worry, I will fix it. When he came back 3 or 4 hours later, it smelled fresh and clear in there. What the kid had done, and he had learned to do this because he had such bad body odor himself. He used chaparral, and chaparral will neutralize body odor on the body, and it will also neutralize odor in the room when you spray it around. And so he had made up some sprays of the, just cooked down some chaparral and put it in spray bottles and sprayed the whole room, the carpet, everything, and it just completely took all the smells away. So maybe a glass of chaparral tea might not be hurtful.
Is that spelled CH?
CHAPARRAL, something along that line.
Mm.
You know, I can't spell, but I think that's close.
And this is for odors.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember where I read that from, but it was in Christopher. I mean, I've read so much of Christopher's stuff over the years. And he was giving a talk in this really smelly building, and one of his students just said, "Go away, I'll fix it." And he came back at the meeting time and it was fixed. The smell was gone. It was fresh in there. So it definitely neutralizes odor.
Okay.
And you would just cook down, you would make a tea with it and just kind of cook it down, let it steep down like 50% so you get a good thick, rich spray, and then just spray it around. I've never tried it personally, but I can't believe it wouldn't work. It's one of those things that I've given it away several times over the years, and I've never had anybody come back and say it didn't work. So if somebody actually did it and tried it, they've never said it didn't work. Okay. Colitis.
Dara,
Yes.
it'd be great for the kitty litter boxes too.
I didn't get it. We got a bad connection with you. Go ahead, try
The
again.
chaparral would be good for the kitty boxes, the kitty litter boxes. Yeah?
I still didn't get the beginning of what you were saying.
Okay, so I was suggesting the idea of using the chaparral for a cat's litter box area.
Yeah. I don't know about necessarily spraying the litter, but everywhere around it
Yeah,
might
yeah,
be helpful.
indeed. So that just popped in. So there.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I've had cats before in the house, and I was so glad when they weren't in there anymore. Cats are great. They're very loving creatures, but they are smelly. Okay. Colitis. All right, the colitis info sheet has some really good info on it as far as gut health. I found it when you're dealing with Christopher's work, if you ever get into his stuff, he's got it stuck everywhere. You start reading and you'll find that a lot of natural healers are horrible that way. They just it just goes, you got to find it. Once you find it, you tag that page. And in this one on colitis is one of the best things I've seen for quite a bit. And I quoted it quite a bit earlier when I was saying how not to get gassy and all that. Those suggestions I had on eating are actually on the colitis info sheet. He says the best and quickest way to treat the condition is to reverse the habits listed above. And those were, the cause of this condition is faulty diet. And this is colitis, irritable bowel, anything along that line. Faulty diet, too many food mixtures which irritate the stomach and bowels, hasty eating and insufficient mastication and salivation, consuming excessive liquids with meals, overuse of cathartics, I'm not sure what that is. I need to look that word up. And eating food prepared and served in aluminum cookware. So he was very much against aluminum cookware. And it's almost outdated from my time. I've just never used it. I don't really know what the issues were with aluminum. I've never looked into that, but I know that they leach something or other. Okay, and then he has a list of 7 things here on eating. Eat only when hungry and not between times of hunger. Drink no fluids while eating, and this includes a period of 15 to 20 minutes before meals and 30 minutes after eating. Okay, so it's 15 to 20 before and 30 minutes after you eat. We suggest this so that the chewing of food will produce a thin paste of liquid out of the food and natural saliva. The following saliva will act as a signal, causing the digestive juices to start for better assimilation. Basically, when you drink with your meals, you dilute your digestive juices, and digestion just doesn't happen well. Each day, have a cup 3 times a day of tea or green drink made up of 3 parts comfrey root or leaves, slippery elm bark, mullein leaves, and 1 part lobelia. So that is his colitis drink, and he actually has a colitis formula over here that has ginger and wild yam added to that, and marshmallow. So there's a couple of different ways that he has that. Have a dish or more of gruel made with pre-soaked, low-heated, uncooked grains, singularly or grouped. Barley, wheat, rye, millet, buckwheat are all excellent choices. To one of the grains is, or a mixture of them, add 1/4 to 1/3 of their volume in flaxseed or psyllium seed when eating the gruel. Honey or a fresh pressed, mild tasting olive oil may be used. Breathe deeply each day for 10 minutes or more to aid digesting. Use as much of our lower bowel tonic as needed to produce 3 or more bowel movements per day. Think health and watch the improvements. And that is a direct quote from Dr. Christopher. Now, I know a lot of us are avoiding grains, whole grains. If you cannot eat them, I would say go for the seeds. But I would not give up on the low heated. They've got the enzymes in them. You know, you will just have to decide what will work for you. Okay, any questions? Anything that, when I was pulling this class together on gut health, we've gone over bowel cleansing, we've gone over those things quite a few times. I guess for the new ones here, we should get into, or at least touch on, the bowel cleansing. The lower bowel number 1 formula and the lower bowel number 2, how those 2 work. You know that you are not going to have good gut health. You're not going to be healthy if your bowels are backing up. Okay, that's the long and the short of it. If you are holding a cesspool in your body, you are not going to be healthy, because the blood is cycling through that and taking that waste and that toxicity throughout your whole body. Everything is getting to eat it all over again. So keeping the bowels cleared, keeping everything moving well is super, super important to good health. Okay, there's a few tricks and a few things I've learned over the years that have proved really helpful, but the heart of the program is the lower bowel number 1 formula. The intestinal number 1, you take 1 pill the first day. Those that are backed up and their bowels aren't moving well, You take 1 pill the first day, 2 the second, 3 the third. You continue to increase by 1 capsule a day until your bowels are moving well. Now, for those that are on the other side of that, I mean, if your bowels are overactive, if you've got colitis or Crohn's disease or something like that, you start with the intestinal number 2 and you back into the number 1. So if you are having too many bowel movements, if your bowels are hot and you're just dripping all day long, and they're just inflamed and miserable, you would take the intestinal number 2, around a teaspoon every 3 hours. And that is going to solidify the bowel. And if you need to use more in the beginning, use a little bit more. I mean, you do what you need to get those bowels solidified so that you are just having regular slightly formed bowel movements 2 or 3 times a day. That is, then if once you've done that, you need to continue using that formula. And if at that point your bowels start backing up and don't want to move well, you may have to take one of the number 1 capsules, or if that's too much, we do have liquid drops. Some people, it takes 1 drop of the formula and their bowels will move just fine. Taking a whole pill will just rip them up. So, you need to make sure everything keeps moving while you're using the intestinal number 2 to take and heal the issue. Because the intestinal number 2 is what is going to actually heal the bowel itself. That draws the infection out, draws the inflammation out of the bowel, and will heal the bowel over time. The intestinal number 1 is just to make sure it just keeps moving along. So if the capsules are too powerful, if using even 1 capsule a day for someone who's got irritable bowel or that's not working out, well, then we can look at the drops, and you can start with 1 drop a day and increase until you find what dose you need to use. But you need to make sure those go. Now, another thing that I use, and I haven't shared this with anyone before that I know of, but when my bowels are a real mess, and that I have shared a lot. Okay, I take in excess of 15 pills a day, and I doubt that is going to change anytime soon. I'm just a mess with that. But when I get up in the morning, if my bowels are not moving, if things are not moving, I'll have a headache. I mean, I will be sick. You're just holding waste in your body, and it just ruins my whole day. I have found that I can use the vitamin C powder. I take 1 teaspoon every 15 minutes until my bowels move. And it's usually, for me, it's 5 teaspoons. So sometimes if I don't want to end up with a really runny bowel all day long, I'll stop at 5, even when I probably could have used 6. I'll stop a little bit early just because I don't want to be stuck running to the bathroom all day long, but I want to get emptied out good. And that is a boost that will just get me emptied out when, for some reason, my normal number of pills just didn't work good. And, if you just rely on the pills themselves, then you've got to wait another 24 hours to get everything emptied out again. You still take the regular amount of pills when you use the vitamin C flush. It doesn't negate how many pills that you take. If you don't take enough, well, then increase by 1 pill. And the next day your bowels should be working better. But the vitamin C flush is just going to flush your bowels and get the waste that's sitting in them out. It will not move the peristaltic along and keep you regular. You still need to use the same amount of the intestinal number 1s that you normally do, even when you do a vitamin C flush. And I like the vitamin C flush because there's no calories and no carbs. So it works really well. And
So
I
you
tend
have-
to do that. Yes.
You have a choice of powder and you have a choice of liquid in vitamin C.
Yeah, I use the powder. That's what I just started using, and I've never used the liquid, so I'm not familiar with that at all. if you are familiar with liquid and you find that good, it's going to work just fine.
And when you said the powder, you said every 15 minutes, 1 teaspoon?
Yes, there's a little over 4,000 milligrams in ascorbic acid, which is what you're taking there. A good ascorbic acid is going to be a little over 4,000 milligrams or whatever vitamin C is going to be in each teaspoon. So you take 1 level teaspoon, and I have here. I'll show you what I've got here, so you guys can see. There are a bunch of them out there. This is one that this is what was on the website that I had. They are really slow to ship. It takes 2 to 3 weeks. It was almost a month before I got my shipment, and it was referred to me. I actually keep the spoon in the bag, and what I do is, as I draw it out, I just run it over my finger like this, and then I get a level teaspoon.
Okay.
And I love these square teaspoons. They are really cool. I found this on Amazon, a square one. It's a teaspoon. I don't know if you all can see that good.
Yeah.
But I just, as I'm pulling it out of the bag, I just run my finger over it so that I get a level teaspoon. And that is about 4,000 milligrams of vitamin C. And I just keep the spoon that I use right in the bag with it. And see, how many milligrams is that? They're saying I added it up at one point and it was over 4,000, just a little over 4,000. They've got it down to 1/4 of a teaspoon as a serving size, which is what they put on here. But when they say the vitamin C flush, they say 3 to 5 grams in a small amount of water every 15 to 30 minutes until loose stools are produced. Okay, when you look up 3 to 5 grams, it's about 4,000 milligrams. And that works. That is what I do when, for some reason, whatever, my bowels just are not working well and they need a little extra knock in the morning. I will go ahead and do that. And it's, for me, it's 5. Yeah, five doses, 15 minutes apart. Well, it's normally where I end up being. It'll be personal for everybody. You just find your dose. And then if you want to take the vitamin C on a regular basis, what you do then, once you find your bowel saturation, and just to use the vitamin C on a regular basis, on a daily basis, I then can take 3 teaspoons. You cut it back by 2. So since it takes 5 for my bowels to flush, then you cut it back by 2 teaspoons, and that would be your regular dose in a day. And you can split that up between 2 or 3 doses. So you can take a teaspoon 3 times a day, or 1.5 teaspoons twice a day. When you're just dosing, you know, for regular vitamin C, to get good saturation, good tissue saturation without hitting bowel saturation. So does that make sense, or did I confuse everybody?
No, makes sense.
Yeah, and that is a way to have a safeguard against having a bad day because your bowels just don't want to do what they're supposed to be doing, even though you did everything right. And that can happen. I mean, your bowels can tighten up when you are detoxing, when you're doing a really good detox program and your liver is dumping and everything is going really well. What comes out of your liver is like cement. There's no fiber in it. It's just like cement landing in your bowel, and it can just tighten everything up. So the fact that your bowels are tighter is probably an indication that you're really dumping waste really well, and doing a vitamin C flush to get it on out of there is probably a really good thing to be doing. So I wouldn't knock it on either side. And I figured that's probably the biggest reason why my bowels are good one day and lousy the next. I got a good liver dump. My system just cleaned up really well overnight, and it just dumped a bunch of waste out, and nothing is moving. So when that happens, a good vitamin C flush can just save your day and keep you from having a really, really bad bowel day.
Okay. Do you know anything about a fatty liver?
Yeah. A fatty liver, basically what a fatty liver is, and they don't admit to this here in the US. In other countries, they do. Basically, the gallstones are forming in the liver. Your liver is full of bile ducts. All right, you've got thousands and thousands of bile ducts in your liver, and you should be producing about 1.5 quarts of bile every day. Is what you should be excreting. Every cell in your body is fed on the bile. It is not just waste that is dumped off. It is also used to create a stronger hydrochloric bath. When your bile is all backed up and your liver is backed up, you don't even have all the constituents to make a good hydrochloric bath to digest your food. The bile contributes to that. And it also lubricates the bowel. When the bile isn't working well, you will be more constipated because it performs a lubricating action on the bowel wall and the intestinal walls. So you are supposed to produce about 1.5 quarts of bile a day, and the body uses that. What happens when the liver gets backed up is it thickens up inside the liver. And when the bile gets hard inside the liver, there's no crustation on it. All right. When it drips into the gallbladder and you get the little gallstones, there's a mineral crustation that comes on the stones when it gets in the gallbladder. It will get crustation on it. What's inside your liver is like trying to image Jello. They can't image it. All they can see is that you have a fatty liver. Your liver is bigger. Well, it's getting forced bigger, and it's becoming bigger because you got all these stones and all this garbage inside of it sitting right in front of those bile ducts. So as the waste oozes out of the ducts, it just makes bigger and bigger and bigger balls there sitting in front of the ducts. And your liver just gets fatter and fatter and fatter because it just hardens up. You know, that it's like a thick waxy fluid. If you've ever seen a gallstone, or you can go on Google gallstones and see what they look like. There's plenty of disgusting pictures on there to look at, but that is inside the liver, and as the liver seeps the fluid out, the bile out, it just creates bigger and bigger snowballs in there, and it just stops up the liver more and more. So the answer to a fatty liver is doing your ELF, doing your liver flushes and getting those out of there. Just and they won't all empty out at one time. If you've got a fatty liver, you're going to be needing to do quite a bit of work to get all that waste out of the liver and get it cleaned up. Your castor oil packs, your M&L salve over it to soften all that waste up, so that when the liver does contract, when you do the flushes and the liver contracts, it will just whoosh even more out of it. But that is pretty much what a fatty liver is.
Okay.
Now you take what I just said to your doctor, and he's going to laugh you right out of the room. But if you go to Germany and tell a doctor in Germany, he would probably agree with you.
Okay.
Because they can't image it. They can only see if it's there when they autopsy you. And since we don't want to be autopsied when we're alive.
Right.
We'll just,
I had a friend that thought he was having a heart attack,
yes.
and he went to the hospital, And they did all the tests for the heart, but they found a fatty liver.
Yeah. A gallbladder attack, a backed up liver will often act like a heart attack. What you can do if you want to rule out a heart attack and rule in a need to flush the liver, give them LP and Digestive Tonic. A teaspoon of LP and a teaspoon of Digestive Tonic. If it is coming from the liver, that will usually within just a couple minutes, all the symptoms will go away. It will be done. And then you can turn around and look at them and say, you need to do an ELF. And they'll look at you like you're out of your mind, but you've just ruled out a heart attack and ruled in a backed up liver.
Okay. I did tell him he was going to have to do a liver flush. He doesn't want to.
Of course not.
And so I told him to rub, I told him to do a castor oil pack.
Yeah.
Like just even, I don't know, every night for a while. I don't know. I don't know if
Yeah,
that
well,
helped.
the castor oil pack, let me just give you a heads up. Castor oil pack is going to soften everything up in there and get it moving around even more. And if he's not willing to actually go ahead and do the ELF, that could create even more trouble.
What kind of more trouble would it be?
Just everything. Well, you know, when you're having a gallbladder issue, if you eat oil, it can just make everything, you know, send you to the floor with a gallbladder attack. Because that little bit of oil that you ate is trying to get the liver to dump, but it wasn't enough to do the job. And so everything is just twinging and moving in there, and you end up on the floor in agony.
Okay, so if he doesn't
He
want
needs to do an ELF.
I know he does, but I can't make people do it. I mean, you know,
I know.
It's just, and so,
Poor guy.
I'm trying to find other ways for him to just even
Well, the
consider.
LP and digestive will calm it down. Just taking the LP and Digestive Tonic on a regular basis. I mean, he can take that 3 times a day or whatever, and that is going to help, and it will increase bile flow to some degree. And if he's already got a fatty liver, it probably isn't going to clear the issue, but it will help.
Is that a teaspoon 3 times a day?
Yep. A teaspoon of each 3 times a day would definitely help. But at some point in time, he will need to do an ELF.
Yeah.
You know, one way to get people to do this is to have an ELF party and make it a fun time.
Yeah, I thought about that. And it encourages people, and they're not afraid that they're going to lose their mind or something.
Yeah, if you have a girls' night out or a party, you got a husband there that you can drag into it to have a guys' night, and you know, just have a sleepover and invite people who want to do something like this or who need to, and then you can just handcuff him to a steering wheel and bring him over. And tell him everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Yes, dear.
Okay, so doing like the 5-day liver detox this week. It seems like when I do that ELF, like say I'm gonna do it Friday night, you know, seems like it feels like it just kind of reabsorbs into my body because I'm not going as much because I've been juicing all week. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Do a vitamin C flush the next morning.
Okay. All right.
Really hit it hard. I always have to do a vitamin C flush after an ELF because what comes through from there is so heavy and so dense, it does not move out well. And I just end up with headaches and everything. So just you can do the prune juice flush the next day if you don't have the vitamin C on hand. The prune juice flush will work, but you got all those carbs and all that sugar. But that works too, doing the prune juice flush, and the vitamin C flush will accomplish the same thing without so many carbs and carbohydrates and sugar.
Okay, I did miss one little thing. I did listen to most of that vitamin C flush, but is that like you just get those emergency things at the store?
No, I would go ahead. You can go to bulkfoods.com. I don't know
Okay.
if I've told you about bulkfoods.com over the years.
Yeah.
She has ascorbic acid at bulkfoods.com. And just get a pound or 5 pounds or whatever you want of her stuff. And you do one level teaspoon, just like I showed you, and put it in a glass with just a little bit of water. Every 15 minutes, you just set your phone for 15 minutes, and every 15 minutes you drink it. And after you drink this, you always follow it with water, a swallow of water to rinse your teeth. Because even though it's very alkaline in your system, it's acidic on the teeth. So you don't want to leave the vitamin C on your teeth. So always rinse your mouth every time you drink it. And just,
Okay.
have another little glass there to rinse your teeth off when you do that. And every 15 minutes, you just take it until your bowels are moving. And
Okay,
that will be the end of the issues after your ELF.
thanks.
All right. Any other questions?
Mm-mm.
Okay. All right. Was there anything on gut health that I did not cover or did not think about? I really got into the fiber thing. And I would strongly suggest you guys get the audio. This is such a good book. I cannot say enough about this book. It will teach you how to feed yourself.
Mhm.
It is so good. And yes, it's a long read, but the audio was really good. And the guy's interesting. He's funny. And I enjoyed him. His personality is great. I think if I ever got to know him, I'd really like the guy. He's down to earth, sensible, and it's a very enjoyable listen, and you're learning a lot. It's really worth it. And Audible's got the audio, and then the hardback copy, you can follow that along with that and just underline all the good stuff if you can keep up with it. I usually got sucked into it so bad that I'm going back and I'm going, oh, I should underline that. And my husband had the book and he was doing real good with the underlining, but it's just a really, really good book and interesting.
I might
So,
get that.
pardon?
I said I may get that.
You really should. I mean, and not just to have sitting on your shelf. Read it.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth
it
reading.
intimidates me right now because it's so big.
Get the audio. When I saw how big the book was, I thought, oh my God, I'll never get through that. And luckily, I had already ordered the audio. The person that referred it to me, and I don't remember who that was now, but I thank you if you're here. I already had the audio, and I had already listened to a few minutes of it, and I liked the guy, and it was interesting. And my husband and I, it was a Saturday, and we're Sabbath keepers, and we actually put it, Bluetooth it to my car and took off driving up into the mountains and around, took a 2 or 3 hour drive listening to it. So we're hearing all about the different ways of feeding ourselves while we're driving around up on the mountain roads and everything. And we've done that on several books where we'll just stick it into the car and enjoy a nice drive around while we're listening to it.
Yeah.
And it was really, really good, but it is long. I think it was like 21 hours or something like that of listening, but it was all worth it. It wasn't like I got to a place in the book and then wanted to quit listening. It was all good.
Okay.
So, all right, on gut health, like I said, anything that was not covered, that any questions, anything that would do with it. I mean, we're talking gut health is getting it in, getting it absorbed, and then getting the waste out. When all that's working good, you've got good gut health.
Okay. Now, so I'm going to change the subject. I got
Sure.
my female formula, and I started doing it, and I felt like I don't know what's happening, but it seems like my taste buds are changing. Is that weird?
No, what do you mean by your taste buds are changing?
I don't know. They're just not, it's like or maybe something's happening, but I went off of it to see if I go back to normal, but I'm not back to normal yet.
Well, when you
It's
say
kind of
your
like
taste buds are changing?
it's like a burnt coffee smell.
Oh, detoxing.
Really?
That would be a detoxing that would be happening in you when you're saying that you've got this metallic taste in your mouth, or a burnt coffee taste, or
Yeah.
something coming. That's a detoxing reaction.
Wow.
Try the digestive tonic and all that is really going to sweeten you up and take anything in your stomach that is backing up into you on out while you work that on through. But
So the female formula might not have anything to do with it.
probably not firsthand, but when one part of your body starts to come up and function better, other parts of your body are also going to jump on that bandwagon and start throwing waste off.
Wow.
So the kind of rises and falls together. As you get one thing going good, something else is going to start functioning a little bit better and cleaning house a little bit.
With the brain formula, because we just ordered that too, and we just started. It looks like I did the brain formula. That seems like it's just like cayenne. It's really hot, but
Yes.
and it doesn't have a taste really for me, which is fine. But I'm just trying to figure out how to
I
be
used to put it in my Pero, my morning coffee substitute. And I would just add it into my Pero when I was drinking that. Now I just put like 3 drops of peppermint oil into it.
into
2
what?
or 3 drops into the brain formula.
Yeah, I don't mind the brain formula. It doesn't really bother me. I'm so used to doing cayenne regularly.
Yeah.
So I don't mind doing that. I just didn't know the combination of brain formula, female formula, echinacea once a day, all of these things. I didn't know what was causing that.
That
I'm gonna
metallic
say
taste in your mouth.
it's not metallic. It's kind of like cigar burn. It's something, and maybe it's my gut.
Something being flushed out. That's what it sounds like.
What would be, so the female formula could be flushing something out?
No, it's not a detoxifying formula. I
It's what?
really wouldn't. It's not a detoxifying formula.
Right.
It's a food formula.
Right.
I don't see that it would be detoxifying.
So it's, yeah, I'm just not sure what it is. I'm not sure. But I did stop it, and it's not as bad. The odor, the taste.
The taste coming up.
But if it's my gut,
that is
yeah.
interesting. That is interesting. I know I've had I've had taste come up in my mouth over the years, as stuff goes on, and I actually can relate to what you're saying, a burnt coffee taste type thing coming up. Vague memories way back in the midst of time, something like that.
Yeah, it's like
it was weird.
It is weird. I mean, I went out and bought a new coffee machine because I thought my coffee machine was burnt, like had old coffee in it. And if I smell the coffee, I smell the smell. like if I put my nose in the coffee jar or in the basket of the
Mhm.
coffee, it relates to what's happening in my body.
Yeah. You're dumping toxins from somewhere. That's what it sounds like.
Wow.
I wouldn't be too concerned about it, except for getting rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of getting rid of the toxin, but I don't know where how it's happening. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah. Well, in some places we don't have to understand it all because the body knows what it's doing, which is a good thing, because 90% of the time we'd probably get it wrong anyways. But when you have something like that coming up with a food formula, you know, an herbal food formula, that is very, you know, even high nutrition will detoxify, because when you get the nutrients down there and the alkalinity.
Oops.
Sorry about that. Just had a call try to come through. And the alkalinity, whenever you provide alkaline at cellular level of any kind, it's gonna cause cleansing and cleaning.
So alkalinity, is that
It comes from nutrition.
and alkalinity is mostly vegetables or
No, any good nutrition, anything that is any of the tinctures, any of the building formulas can provide alkalinity, which is going to clean house and just cut waste loose. So if you're having a detoxing reaction, I would just try beefing up your echinacea and just see if you know, doing a little more echinacea might support whatever's going on.
okay. I'll call you, or if you
Yeah.
think of something, call me or something, but I'm just in this right now. I'm in this I just didn't know what to do. I just wish I knew what to do. Because it's the
Well, it
coffee.
sounds like, from what you're saying there, it sounds very disconcerting to you that this is happening.
It is, because I feel that I don't know. I'm not sure if people smell it on me. I'm not sure. I mean, I guess I don't know.
You don't know if you're being offensive with it.
Yeah, and then I don't know. Because I just can't figure out where's the smell coming from. But it's coming from me for some part. But I will tell you that the coffee grounds smell like it.
Is it on your skin also?
Maybe. I
Why
smell it.
don't you do the detox bath?
What's that?
The detox bath, you can get the recipe off my blog. What it is it's Epsom salts, bentonite clay, apple cider vinegar, and whatever your favorite essential oil. I usually use what's that purple flower one?
Lavender.
My brain. Yes, thank you. Lavender. A few drops of lavender into it. The recipe is if you put in a bath or detox bath or something like that on my blog, I believe it will come up. If it doesn't, it is on ladyofherbs.com on the incurables page. When you click into, when you look at the info sheets, there's that third option there on the incurables program, and the detox bath is on there. And if you can't find it, text me and I'll send it to you.
Okay.
And it's that you come out of that bathtub feeling like you're just spaghetti. It is so relaxing, and you just, and the sheet tells you what each one of those things do, how it purifies the skin and detoxes, and each one of those does something a little different on the detoxing of the skin and the body and all that. So it's a really, really good detox bath, and
Okay.
definitely worth trying. And if it's getting stuck in your skin and all that, I would do the detox bath and just get it out of there.
How long do you, well, the recipe's on there? Okay.
Yeah, I usually a half hour, 45 minutes, just kind of kick back in the bathtub and rest for a while. Any other questions? Open
Yes.
forum.
Dara, May Abraham asked me to ask you a question about hernias. I think she said, what's the umbilical hernias?
Oh,
You
she,
know,
okay, who's talking to me?
Diane
Trying to
Bailey.
find. Oh, hi, Diane. Okay, yeah, the hernia, if it's completely through, if the skin is completely open and you've got your guts trying to push through there, you got to go get it sewed up. It's like a broken leg when the bone is sticking out. The muscle is like a piece of elastic, and if the hernia is all the way through the muscle wall, sorry about that. If the hernia is all the way through the muscle wall, then it has to be sewed shut, because every time you move, you're just ripping and pulling that apart more. If it's not all the way through, if it's just some torn fibers in it, and it's just the beginning of one, you can use the BF&C and use a belt or something in the BF&C and let it knit itself back together with a BF&C pack and all that. But if it's completely through the muscle wall, if you've got intestines trying to poke their way out, you got to go in and get that sewed up. It's like a broken bone. They've got the toys to fix it.
Oh, okay. I'll let her know.
Yep. So if it's all the way through, it has to be sewed up.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions?
Okay, so I'm gonna go back to my question about, so tonight I should do a digestive tonic.
The digestive in the LP
Yeah.
for
Oh,
the
I
taste
guess
in your
there's-
mouth,
Yeah,
or yeah,
The
give that a
same.
whirl.
yeah. I don't have, I mean, I have Epsom salt and apple cider vinegar and lavender. If I wanted to take a bath tonight, but I don't have that,
Yeah. Bentonite Clay.
yeah.
Yeah, any good health food store should have some. If you leave the clay out this time, it's not the end of the world. You know, it will still be good. I would say go ahead and use some intestinal number 2 in there, but it doesn't really have that much bentonite clay in it. It's got a good amount, but not that much where it could take the place of it.
Okay,
But it's pretty cheap stuff, and any good health food store should have bentonite clay.
okay.
All right, my dears.
Okie dokie.
Okay, well, what would you guys like for our next class? Any suggestions? And just so you know, I put up a blog last week on dosing. Dosing formulas. It's got some sheets and some suggestions on how to set up your formulas for dosing throughout the day. And I put up a blank little sheet on there. I just go to my blog and check that out. It's scheduling your doses. And I'm forever getting a lot of questions on how do I work all these formulas in the day, and you know, how do we do this? And so I did a blog on it, and it's got some real good suggestions on there, and those are examples, but they will give you ideas on how to set it up.
I don't know what's happening.
And pardon?
Yeah,
Can you hear me? Darcy.
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, what can you do for a leg cramp? Sometimes I have a severe cramp in my thigh.
Okay. Lobelia is, or the antispasmodic is your 911. Within, if you've got just grabbing, cramping on your legs, you can put Lobelia or antispasmodic into your mouth. And usually within just a couple minutes, that's all going to ease up and go away. What you can do topically is the M&L salve. You can rub the Mullen and Lobelia salve right over that.
Where do you get that? Where do I get that?
Oh, we make all that here.
Okay.
Yeah, we have the M&L salve, and we also have the Lobelia. I don't know anyone else in the country that makes Lobelia anymore.
How much
Schultz
is
doesn't
that?
even produce it.
Can you tell me how much the Lobelia salve is?
The 2 ounce is $19. The 4 ounce is $35.
Okay. All right. All right. And
Yeah.
all your information is on your blog, right? As far as contacting
Yeah.
purchase things. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's all there. Yes, Miss Stamps.
Yes, I'm gonna order the. You said it's called Lobelia. I'm gonna text you so I can. Lobelia.
Yeah,
Can you spell it?
Lobelia. It's an antispasmodic.
And can you tell me also what causes acid reflux?
A backed up liver, you need to do an ELF.
Okay.
When the liver is backed up, it just, the waste just comes back up into the stomach, and then it's just toxic.
All right.
So the LP and digestive will put a quick end to that, but it will just keep coming back, and you'll end up with a massive gallbladder attack if you don't get your liver flushed. That's just an early sign that you need to do an ELF.
Okay. All right. Thank you, honey.
You're welcome, dear.
That elf is gonna just, everybody has to do one, but
So that salve will penetrate the muscles in my thigh. So when I assume that cramp is something that's going on internally in the muscles in my leg. So the salve is
They're potassium driven. You're probably low in potassium in your body. Cramps are usually come when the potassium balance is off.
Okay.
And so just use the BF&C is usually very helpful in getting the body to a place where it won't be cramping up so bad. But if you do have the cramps, either the antispasmodic, which is really strong, or the Lobelia. And I like the Lobelia for the middle of the night cramps because you don't have to worry about measuring it, and it doesn't have any cayenne in it. The antispasmodic's got a real bite, and the Lobelia doesn't. It's just apple cider vinegar, which tastes terrible, but it's easy to get down. And it's just, I got a really, really bad one a few weeks back. We'd been out hiking and all that, and I was getting into the bed at night, and I was ready to cry. I mean, my leg was just ripping. It was from the knee down, and it was ripping, and it was climbing up past my knee. And I had the leg up on the bed, and I could not move the other one, and I couldn't move it down. I couldn't move it at all. It hurt so bad. Any movement was just torture. And I was crying, and I told my husband, I said, I need some Lobelia or something. And he brought it to me, and it was probably, I'd say it was 2 or 3 minutes before it completely dissipated and went away.
Okay.
It really, I mean, it was one of those, I know what you feel, girl.
Okay. I don't wish that on nobody. Now,
yeah, that got me back on my BF&C. I'm
Lobelia.
taking my BF&C every day now.
Now, well, in the meantime, did you say apple cider vinegar? I mean, well, like right now, what should I take?
To increase your potassium and all that, do your hot lemonade once or twice a day.
Okay.
That's your lemon juice, your apple cider vinegar, and your cayenne in your water. And you can add a little
Okay.
honey or maple syrup to that. And that's really going to help with your potassium levels.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, dear.
Dara, is magnesium good for leg cramps?
Yes.
I
Linda
believe
said
it
that
will
is-
help. Yeah, it's not a 911.
You can pull the whole
but
basket out so you can see what's in it.
yeah, if you're doing your D3, your vitamin D pushes and all that,
Mhm.
and you're not taking magnesium on the side, that could be what's causing the cramps to come on. Because when you do that, you're going to be using up a lot of magnesium in the body, and you probably have to support it.
Look, I get them in the morning when I stretch. I get them in my legs in the morning when I'm stretching. If I don't stretch, then I don't feel them. But every time I try to stretch out my legs and my feet, then I feel them, the cramps in my calves.
Okay. Try do your hot lemonade, and then try rubbing down with some M&L salve before you go to stretch. See if that won't help.
Yes, yeah, okay. Now, can they be used on your eyelids, M&L salve?
I don't see why not. There's nothing that's
I
going to
tried it
irritate.
one time. I tried it just to be trying it. And like sometimes my eyes feel like they get tight in the sockets. So I do the eye exercise, like going from left, right, up and down.
Mm-hmm.
But then I just tried the M&S salve, and the next morning I woke up, I didn't feel the tightness no more.
Oh.
Yeah. It definitely won't hurt anything. I would try the Eye Bright formula, just rinsing your eyes and getting good circulation back in there.
Okay.
It's amazing how nice that is. Okay, my people. No suggestions on our next class. If nobody has any suggestions, I will make something up.
Make something up.
Okay. I will let you all know what it is. I'll send out an email, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Dara.
Thank you,
Night, everybody.
Dara.
All right. You guys
Good
take
night.
care.
All right.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.